Hi there. In this tutorial, we look at what many people consider to be one of the greatest strengths of Excel, and that is the ability to create really good graphs and charts. So why do people use graphs and charts in Excel? Well, usually it's to strengthen a message, or sometimes to actually give the message itself. As the saying goes, a picture can paint 1,000 words, and very often, particularly with complex data, a chart can help people to understand the data without getting too baffled by all of the numbers. I'm Nabil Murad. In our worksheet, we have a list of continents and numbers representing sales, cost of goods sold, discount, returns, and more. I want to analyze these numbers from different perspectives by creating 10 different types of charts. Then, to visualize my data in the least amount of space, I want to use a combo box that switches from one chart to the other by selecting a different option from a drop list. In this project, we'll create 10 different charts. We'll format the different chart elements. We'll be defining names. And then we need to create a combo box, which requires adding the Developer tab to the ribbon, selecting an input range, and link the combo box to a cell. We'll be then creating a defined name using the choose function. We'll be also adding the camera tool to the quick access toolbar, and finally, link the combo box to the camera tool. We have a lot to learn, so let's see how we build our project from ground up in Excel. In this worksheet, I have a list of continents in column A, and then in column B I have the sales in millions for each one of these continents. In column C I have the cost of goods sold. In column D we have a discount, and then in column E we have returns. We calculated the net sales amount in column F, the gross profit in column G. And then we have in column H the percentage of return. I'll be later on calculating the highest returns and the lowest returns. But looking at these numbers might be a little bit difficult to make an informed decision, so I would like to represent these values and all this list by creating 10 different charts. So I would like to create a chart where you see the shading or the fill color, the yellow fill color. I'll be creating 10 different charts in these ranges filled with orange color, and then I'll be creating a drop list to enable me to switch between the different charts in the smallest area possible. So let's start by creating our first chart. Before creating our charts, I will need to name the ranges upon which each chart will be sitting, and I'll be using this list of names. So let's start by selecting the first range. I selected the first range, and let's go to the name box to the left side of the formula bar and type sales columns, and then I hit enter, and I would have named the first range. I'll be doing the same exact thing for each one of the ranges, selecting the range, and then go to the name box and type the next name sales tree, and then hit enter, and I'll be repeating for each one of the ranges until I finish creating all the names. Now I named all the ranges. If I click on the down arrow of the name box, let's say I select discount return, the range is recognized. If I select another range, sales return, if I select a third one from the drop list, let's say highest return, the range is recognized. Each range of cells is recognized by a name. I'll be creating charts and putting each one of the charts on the corresponding named range. Let's get started by creating our first chart, sales column, and to create the first chart, it will be a column chart. So I select the range in column A and column B. I could go to the Insert tab, but alternatively I'll be using Alt F1. So it creates the chart in one single click, Let's apply some changes to this chart. First of all, this vertical axis, the y-axis, is not needed, so I'm going to hit the delete key and my chart grows bigger. These horizontal lines called the grid lines, I'm going to select them and delete them as well. I need to reduce the spacing between the different columns, so I click on one of the columns and then hit Control 1 to open the Format Data Series pane on the right side. I have a slider, the gap width slider, so if I drag this slider a little bit to the left, I'll be reducing the gaps, and with my columns selected, I could go to the Format tab of the ribbon and then change the fill color of these columns. And also, it will be a good idea to apply like a bevel effect. So I click on Shape Effects, hover over Bevel, and select the first bevel effect. To see the numbers after deleting the vertical axis, so I need to add some data labels. So I click on the plus sign in the upper right corner of the selected chart and then go to data labels, and here are my data labels. If you wish to format them, as I'm going to do right now, click on the right pointing arrow and select more data label options. Data labels have been added, but I don't want to see decimal places, so I go to the last option and then scroll down to number, expand the number and say I want to format it as currency, so I select currency with 0 decimal places, and when I do that I would have applied the new formatting. Let's format all these numbers, so I need to deselect and reselect one more time to make sure that all my data labels are selected. On the Home tab, let's bump it up to 10 and let's make it bold. I could do the same exact thing for the x-axis. I'll make it bold as well. If I wish, I can increase the font size. Let's add a chart title. So I select the chart title and start typing sales by continent. And when I hit enter, I would have created my label. I can format it by making it bold. I'm on the Home tab and I'll make it dark blue. One final thing I would like to do before positioning my first chart is to go to the Format tab and apply an outer border. I'll be doing this for all the charts, so let's click on the Shape Outline. Let's make it black and change the shape outline for the entire chart. Let's change the width to 1.5. Now that I created my first column chart, sales by continent, I would like to move it and position it. So let's do that. I'm going to drag it and hover over the first named range, and then I press the Alt key so that the chart snaps to the cell, and here it snaps perfectly to the upper left corner, but I want to adjust it to the lower right corner as well. So I drag it from the lower right corner, press the Alt key, and it snaps to the range perfectly. Let's go and create our second chart. Our second chart will be a tree map for the sales by continent. So instead of recreating this chart from scratch, I'm going to copy it, Control C, and then I'll paste it, Control V, and then modify it. I created an identical version of the first chart, but I want to change the chart type, and to do this, I go to the Design tab. I could also right-click and select Change Chart Type. When I select Change Chart Type, I want to go to Tree Map, and here is the tree map. When I hit OK, I would have changed my chart to a tree map. A tree map chart represents each one of the numbers by a rectangle, and the rectangles are different in colors. The side of the rectangle is a direct reflection of the number. So the bigger the rectangle, the bigger the number, and the smaller the rectangle, the smaller the number. But I see rectangles in different colors, but I don't have any data. Let's go and bring some data labels by clicking on the plus sign in the upper right corner, the chart elements, and from here I'll be selecting data labels, and then I'll click more data label options, and when I click on more data label options, I'll be opening a pane on the right side. I want to see the category name and I want to see the values, and here you go, we have the category names and values. Let's close and format the data labels. With the data labels selected, I go to the Home tab and I can change the font size. Let's make the font size, let's say size 11. I can make it bold if I wish, and that's fine. Let's add an outside border to the entire chart. So I deselect the chart and click again, and then go to the Format tab, apply a shape outline, and let's adjust it like the previous one to 1.5, and I would have finished my second chart. For my next chart, I want to create a chart, a bar chart that represents the net sales by continent. So I select the continent, press Ctrl to select an adjacent range, and drag and select all the numbers for the net sales. This time I want to create a bar chart, so I go to the Insert tab of the ribbon. In the chart group, click on the down arrow, and then go down to Clustered Bar Chart. And here is my bar chart. Let's improve the appearance. First of all, I don't need the horizontal axis, the x-axis, so I select it and hit delete. My chart grows bigger. I don't want these vertical grid lines, so I select them and then hit the delete. I want to reduce the space between the different bars, so I select one of them and then hit Ctrl 1 to open the Format Data Series pane. We have the gap width slider, so I'll drag it a little bit to the left, and I would have reduced the gap between the different columns. Let's improve the appearance. First of all, I want to add a different fill color for each one of these bars. So I click on this bucket icon, the fill and line, and when you click on it, expand the fill. And here we have an option for changing the bars with different colors, vary colors by point. If you check this option, you will see different colors. Let's apply an effect for each one of these bars by going to the Format tab of the ribbon and then click on Shape Effect and select bevel. I want a bevel effect for each one of these bars. You know what? I want to reduce the gap even more, so I'm going to drag my slider a little bit more, and that's much better. For the vertical axis, the y-axis, I want to format the text which shows the names of the different continents. So I select the vertical axis and then go to the Home tab and then bold it. I could also create my chart title by selecting the chart title, and let's say I want to type net sales by continent. So I created a chart title, net sales by continent. With the chart title selected, I can bold it and I can change the color to match the other charts. One final thing, I want to add some labels to show the net sales for each continent, and these are data labels. Click on the plus sign and select data labels, and here are my data labels added to the right side of each bar. Let's select data labels and then format the data labels on the Home tab as we did before by increasing the font size. Let's make it size 10 and then bold it. And the final thing is to add a chart outline. So I'm selecting the outer frame of the chart, click on the Format tab, select Shape Outline, and let's adjust the weight of the Shape Outline to 1.5, and I finish creating my third chart, the net sales amount for each continent, and I'm going to position my chart on the named range by pressing the Alt key to snap it to the upper left corner, and then I'm going to resize it and then snap it to the lower right corner as well while pressing the Alt key and drag, and I'm snapping my chart to the lower right corner. I'll be creating my next chart, and the next chart will be a combo chart, which means 2 in 1, a column chart and a line chart. I want to represent the discount and return for each continent, so let's do that. I want to go up at the top to select the name of the continent, and then I'll be pressing Ctrl and click and drag to select the 2 columns for discount and return, and then click on the Insert tab. This time I'll click on the recommended chart to see what it recommends, but that's not exactly what I want. These are 2 column charts. I click on All Charts tab, and toward the bottom here I have a combo chart. This is exactly what I want to do. I need a combo chart, so I hit OK. In this combo chart, I don't need the vertical axis, so I select it and hit delete. I don't need the horizontal grid lines, so I select them and then hit delete. And then I don't need a legend either, so I select it and hit delete. After doing this, I want to create a title, so I select title, and then I'll be typing discount and return. With my title selected, I go to the Home tab, and I want to bold my title, but I want to change the color of the and I'll make it dark blue, and I'll change the color of return, and I want to make it orange. Why did I do this? I did that to indicate what is the orange line and what is the column. So the column represents discounts. Let's select the column, and then on the Format Data Series, you can open it by hitting Ctrl 1, reduce the gap between the different columns, and change the color of each column to gray. So I go to the Format tab and change the color to gray. And after doing this, I want to apply an effect, a bevel effect as we did before. And now the gray color corresponds to the discount. You can recognize it by color. And the orange line corresponds to the return. Let's go and add some data labels. So to add data labels, I click on the plus sign in the upper right corner and select data labels. And here are my data labels. I can select them and bold them by going to the Home tab and apply the bold color. You can also bump it up. To improve the appearance, I'll be also bolding the horizontal axis. So I click on the Home tab and click on the bold command. I need to add an outer border. So with the whole chart selected, I go to the Format tab and then add an outer border and set the weight of the outer border to 1.5. Now we are ready to move our fourth chart to its named range. So I drag it and then I want to position my fourth chart, so I press the Alt key, snap it to the upper left corner, drag from the lower right while pressing the Alt key and snap it to the lower right corner, and I finish creating my fourth chart. My next chart will represent the discount by continent, and this will be a pie chart. Very popular chart, the pie chart. So I want to create it, so I select the different continents, and because I want to represent the discount by continent, I press Ctrl and select discount, then go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, and on the Insert tab I want to click on the down arrow for pie, and I'll be selecting a 3D pie chart. When we create a 3D pie chart, we need to make some room, so I'll be deleting the legend. So I select the legend and hit delete. My chart grows bigger. If I click once on the chart, you see all the sections for this pie are being selected. All the slices are selected. But if I click one more time, I'll be selecting one single slice. And this is what I see right now. I'm selecting the gray slice and I want to change its color. Let's say I go to the Format tab, Shape Fill, and here I want to make this one red, and I'll be doing the same exact thing for the light blue slice. So I select the light blue slice and I want to make it, let's say, purple. After changing the slice colors, I want to add a title, Discount by Continent. I can format my title by going to the Home tab and make it bold and make it blue. Then I need to add some data labels, so we click on the plus sign in the upper right corner and then select More Data Labels. And for my data labels, I want to show the category name and the value, and I don't need leader lines, so I'm adding the category names and values. I can bold it. If I wish, I can select some of them, those who are on a dark background, by clicking one more time to deselect the other ones, and I can change the font color to white. If I wish to make it easier to read, I can do that for anyone I want. And now the last step before moving and positioning my chart is to select the chart from the outer border, go to the Format tab, add a shape outline, and set the shape outline weight to 1.5 point. Now I'm ready to move my pie chart to its named range, and this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm dragging the chart, press the Alt key to snap it to the upper left corner, and then drag it from the lower right corner while pressing the Alt key and snap it to the lower right corner as well. My next chart will be a donut chart that represents the return by continent. So I select the continent in column A and then press the Control key and select the return. Go to the Insert tab, click on the down arrow for pie chart, and from here I want to create a donut chart. So when I click on donut chart, it's created. I don't need the legend, so I select it and hit delete. I need to reduce the width of this central hole, so I select the pie and then hit Control 1. It opens a pane on the right side, the Format Data Series pane. One of the sliders you see here is for the donut hole size. So if I drag the donut hole size to the right, I want to make it a little smaller. That's fine right now. And now I need to change some of the colors to match the pie chart that I created earlier. I click on the gray color and then go to the Format tab. Let's make this one red. And then click on the red one and click on the shape fill and make this one purple. Now we need to apply a bevel effect. So I select all the sections, go to Shape Effect, and then select the bevel effect. That looks nice. We need to add a chart title. I'm selecting the chart title and click in the formula bar and type Return by Continent. I type the title Return by Continent. As usual, I'm going to bold it and I'll make it dark blue. Now we need to add some data labels. Click on the plus sign in the upper right corner, and from here we'll be selecting data labels. Click on the right arrow and say more label options, so we can add only the amount of return. If you wish, you can also add more options. So by clicking on the label options and then expand the label options, I could also add the category name. One more thing I want to do is to drag these labels outside, so I could do that and reposition them and then add an outer frame to the entire chart. I'm selecting the chart and then I go to the Format tab, Shape Outline, and then set the weight of the shape outline to 1.5. Now my donut chart is ready to be placed on the named range. So I drag it, and then I want to position it on the named range. I position the upper left corner while pressing Alt to snap it perfectly to the named range, and then do the same exact thing from the lower right corner. I press Alt key and drag it and snap it. My next chart will represent the cost of goods sold by continent, and it will be a column chart. At this time I would like to apply a style, so let's create this chart by selecting the continents and press Ctrl and select the cost of goods sold. I can use my Alt F1 key to create this one. Here I want to apply a style, so I go to the Design tab of the ribbon and click on the down arrow for the Chart Styles gallery, and from here I'll be selecting one of the styles. I could modify this style by selecting, let's say, the vertical axis and delete it, and then I don't need the horizontal grid lines, so I select them and then hit the delete key. Now I need to change the color of the different columns, so I click on one of the columns and I'm selecting all of them. Go to the Format tab and let's say I want to change the color and I'll make it an orange color. Let's select this orange color, and then I need to add an effect, so I click on the down arrow for Shape Effects, go down to Bevel, and then let's select this bevel effect, Relaxed Inset. After applying this bevel effect, I need to add some labels, so I click on the plus sign in the upper right corner, select data labels, and here are my data labels. If you want to make them bigger, just select them and then go to the Home tab. You can change the font size if you wish, and you can bold them by clicking on the bold command, and I'll be doing the same for the categories on the horizontal axis. I want to bold them as well. I'm almost done. All what I need is a title, so I select the chart title and type cost of goods sold. Whatever I type appears in the formula bar, and when I hit enter, here is my chart. It's ready to be moved. Because I have a dark gray fill, so I don't need an outline for this one. I could simply resize it and move it in place over the next named range. So I drag my chart and position it on the named range while pressing the Alt key to snap to the upper left corner, then drag from the lower right corner while pressing the Alt key to snap it as well. My next chart will be another combo chart, column and a line chart that represent the sales and return. I want to create another chart, so I select the continents. I want the sales, so I select continents and sales, and then I want the return, so I press Ctrl and select the return. To create a combo chart, I go to the Insert tab of the ribbon and then click on Recommended Charts, and from here I go to All Charts and go down to Combo to create the combo chart. The return amount compared to the sales amount is very small, so you see the horizontal line, or you see the line chart representing the return as a flat line. But in order to see it, I need to represent it on a secondary axis, which will have much smaller numbers. So by checking the box for the line chart under secondary axis, my line chart will pop up. And this is exactly what I want to do. And let's go and apply some changes to this chart. It's a combo chart. First of all, I don't want all these numbers, so I want to format the numbers on each one of the vertical axes. I select the vertical axis, I hit Ctrl 1, and then go down to number, and under number, I don't want a decimal place, So to save some space, I'm going to type a 0, and then I'm done. I'll go to the second one, the secondary axis, and I'll do the same exact thing. So for the secondary axis, I don't want decimal places either, so I expand number and I type 0 for the decimal places, and I would have formatted this axis. When I close, I want to make it bigger, and I want to change its color so it appears that it corresponds to the line chart. So I go to the Home tab, I bold it, and then I can make it even bigger. I can change the color to match the line, so I'll make it orange. I'll do the same on the other side. For the primary vertical axis, I want to bold it, and I want to make it blue, so I change the color to blue, and now it's visible that the blue color corresponds to the blue column and the orange color corresponds to the line chart. After doing this, I want to change the labels as well, so I'll be selecting the category on the horizontal axis, and I want to make them a little bold, and I want to change the color to blue. Now let's get rid of these horizontal grid lines, so select them and hit the delete key, and then select the chart title, and let's add a title, Sales and Return. Let's format our title, let's make it bold, let's make it dark blue. And the final thing before positioning this combination chart is number one, to delete the legend. So I don't need the legend, my chart grows bigger, and I need to add a border. So I click on the Format tab, Shape Outline, and then I want to set the weight of the shape outline to 1.5, and I finish creating this chart as well. I want to position it on its named range. I cut it and paste it. Now I can adjust the size. So I snap it to the upper left corner while pressing Alt, as we did before, and then I want to drag the lower right corner, and I'll snap it to the lower right corner of the named range while pressing Alt, and I finished creating this chart. Our next two charts are bubble charts, one of them representing the highest percentage of return, and the second one representing the lowest percentage of return. In order to create these two charts, I need to add two calculations to my original list. So I'll be selecting the first range in column I, and I want to create an if function equal if. And in this if function, I would like each one of these numbers in column H to ask, am I the highest value in this entire range? So I say if this number H4 is equal to the max and open bracket of the entire range, click and drag to select the entire range from H4 to H9, and then I lock it and then close the bracket. This is my logical test, which is the first argument of the if function. I hit comma. If it is the highest value in the range, what do you want to happen? So I need to get the same exact value in H4. And then I hit comma. Otherwise, what do you want to happen? I need nothing. Nothing is double quote, and then close the bracket. To populate this function, I hit Control Enter. And I can see here that Africa has the highest percentage of return. Let's do the same exact calculation, but this time to find the lowest, which means the minimum, the min function. I'm selecting the entire range and I type equal if this cell in column H is equal to the min. I click and drag to select the entire range and then hit F4 to lock it, close the bracket for the min function, and then if this value is equal to the minimum of the entire range, what do you want to happen? Then I need the same exact value in H4, and then I hit comma. Otherwise, I need nothing, double quote, close the bracket. Don't forget to populate this function. We hit Control Enter. And now in Asia, we have the lowest percentage of returns. Let's create our two bubble charts. To create my bubble chart, I need to select the range in columns A and B, and then I press Control and select the range for the return. We are evaluating the return, so I'm selecting the range in column H as well. And then I go to the Insert tab and click on the down arrow for the scatter and bubble chart. And from here I'll be selecting the last option, bubble chart. And I created the first part of this chart. At the same time, I do not need the vertical axis, so I select it and delete it. I do not need the vertical grid lines, so I delete them. I do not need the horizontal grid lines, so I delete them. I can also bold the vertical axis, so I select it and go to the Home tab and bold it. And I finished creating my first data series for the bubble chart. By the way, I see all the continents, but I would like to see the highest return, so I need to add one more data series to this chart. Let's go and add the second data series. With the chart selected, I go to the Design tab and click on Select Data. What's the name of this series? So let's click on Add. Here is the first one. Let's click on Add to create a second one. And now I want to name it, let's say, Highest, to represent the highest return. And then for the x-axis, I click and drag to select the continent. For the y-axis, I delete the value. I would like to select the sales. And then for the bubble size, I want to select the column where I created my new calculation. So I click and drag to select the columns from I4 to I9. And then when I hit OK and another OK, I would have created the second series, and now I could see that Africa has the highest return. It appears in orange. It will be good if I'm able to add some labels, and I'm selecting one of the blue bubbles and I need to add some data labels. So I click on the plus sign in the upper right corner and say I want more data labels. First of all, I select the position and then I select more data label options. It opens the pane on the right side, and from here I don't want these numbers. I want to select values from cells. So I check the box for values from cells. And here with my blinking cursor in the data label range, I want to select the name of the continent and then hit OK. I don't want the value, so I uncheck the values, and now you can see if you close this pane, it will be easier to see that I created some labels on top of each bubble. Should you wish to make it bigger, go to the Home tab and then make it bold. You can change the color, of course, if you wish. The final thing is to add a title, and here is the highest percentage of return. So I type highest percentage return. I can bold my text. I can change the color of my title to blue. And one final thing before positioning this one, click on the outer border and then add an outline and change the weight of this outline as we did before to 1.5. Now I want to position it, so I cut it, Control X, and go to the named range and then paste it. And now we need to resize it as we did with the other charts. So I can hover over the upper left corner, press the Alt key, and then it snaps. Then drag from the lower right corner, press the Alt key, and snap. My last chart is another bubble chart, but instead of reflecting the highest return, I want to reflect the lowest return. So instead of recreating it from scratch, I'm going to copy this one and paste it in position. And now I want to modify the second series and my chart title. Instead of showing the highest return, let's change the title. For this one, I want to say, no, this is the lowest return. So I change the title to lowest percent return, and then I want to change the second data series. So with my chart selected, I go to the Design tab and say Select Data, and then for here I don't want the highest, so I want to remove it and I want to add a new one. I'll call it lowest, and then for the lowest, the X series will be the continent, and then for the Y series it will be the sales, and for the size of the bubble it will be the column in which we calculated the lowest percent. When I hit OK and then I hit another OK, I would have created my second bubble chart. Let's go and have a look at it. Now Asia has the lowest percentage of return. And because I want to have different appearance, so I can go to the Design tab and change color. If you click on Change Color, you can select a different color for this bubble chart. And now we finish creating our chart. So what I did so far, I have 10 charts created based upon this list. A column chart, sales by continent. A tree map chart, sales by continent. And then net sales by continent, which is a bar chart. a combination chart for discount and returns, and then a pie chart for the discount by continent. For the return by continent, I created a donut chart, and then for the cost of goods sold, I have a column chart. I have another combo chart with a secondary axis for the sales and return, and then I created two bubble charts, one for the highest percentage return and one for the lowest percentage return. Instead of scrolling up and down to look at the different charts, I would like to be able to switch between the different charts in one single location, in one single window, by using a drop list. And to create this drop list, I need to create a combo box, and to create the combo box, I need the developer tab of the ribbon. To add the developer tab on the ribbon, I right-click on a blank area on the ribbon and select Customize the ribbon, and the Excel options dialog box opens. We check the box where it says Developer, and when I hit OK, the Developer tab would have been added to the ribbon. Click on the Developer tab, and in the group named Controls, click on the down arrow for Insert, and from here I have different types of control. The second one is for creating a combo box. I select the second one, and now my mouse pointer changes to a crosshair, so I want to create my combo box somewhere. Let it be here in row number 86. I click and drag to create my combo box. A combo box is a drop list, so it should have an input range, and it is linked to a cell. I'm going to link it to one of the cells. With my combo box selected, I need to select the input range, so I click on Properties on the Developer tab, and in the Properties dialog box, I have an input range. So if I put my blinking cursor in that input range, I already created a list of the different names of the ranges upon which the charts are sitting. Remember, each one of these charts is sitting on a named range. Here is the list of names that I used for naming the ranges behind each chart, and this will be my input range. So if I click and drag to select this input range, and then I want to link my combo box to a cell. Look at this. I have 10 names in my drop list. If I select the second one, the linked cell will show 2. If I select, let's say, the last one, the linked cell will show 10, and so on. So which cell would you like to use as a linked cell? So let's say I'll be selecting cell A86, and then I hit OK. Nothing appears in cell A86, so let's deselect the combo box and click on the down arrow. Let's select sales tree, and here you go. I see number 2. So I have a number in cell 86. My next step will be creating a representation for each one of these charts by using the camera tool. Let's go and bring the camera tool to the interface, and to do this, I need to add it to my quick access toolbar. Click on the down arrow on the right side of the quick access toolbar, and from the drop list select more commands, and then from here I want to add the camera tool to my quick access toolbar, but it's a command not in the ribbon, so I'm changing from popular command from the upper drop list to commands not in the ribbon. It's alphabetic, so if I scroll down, here is the camera tool, and I'll add it to the right side by clicking on add and then hit OK. So let's say I'm selecting cell A86 and I want to use my camera tool. Here is the camera tool, so when I click on that, my mouse pointer changes to a plus sign, and I want to create like a representation to this cell. Cell A86 is linked to the combo box, and the camera tool paste option, this representation, which looks like a picture because I have picture tools format tab, it looks like a linked picture, and it's linked to cell A86. The final step right now is to be able to bring each one of these charts instead of this number 2. So I'll be creating a defined name and use this defined name in my linked picture. I'll be creating a defined name by going to the Formulas tab of the ribbon, and then I say I want to create a defined name, so I click on Defined Name. When I click on Defined Name, this dialog box opens, and I want to name my range, my charts. And this range will be using a choose function. The choose function requires two types of arguments, a number, and I'll be using the number coming from the linked cell in cell A86, and then a set of options. And the set of options or values will be the different named ranges. So if I select 2, I want to select the second named range. If the linked cell is returning 5, I want the fifth named range, and so on. Let's see how we do that. I named my range my charts, and I'll be creating my choose function equal choose, and then I open bracket. First of all, I need the number, and the number is coming from cell A86, which is the linked cell. And then I hit comma. I need to type the 10 named ranges one by one. Let's type the 10 named ranges. So here is my defined name. I used my charts for the defined name, and I'm using a choose function. The choose function will be using the number coming from the linked cell. According to that number, it will be picking up one of the 10 values that follow. The 10 values are the names of the 10 ranges that I created. And because each chart is sitting on one of these named ranges, so it will be returning the chart. Let's hit OK after creating the named range. And now the final step is to select the linked picture that was created by using the camera tool. And if you look at the formula bar right now, it says A86. Instead of A86, what if I delete it and type the name of the range that I just created, my charts, and when I hit the tab key and then hit enter, look at that, that's magical. Let's test our combo box. I'm going to click on the down arrow and select a different option, and everything is dynamic and beautiful. In one single location, I'm able to switch between the different charts. Here is my bubble chart, here is my pie chart, and here is my column chart, and so on. This is the combination chart. The final thing I would like to do is to hide this cell because I just want to keep the drop list, the combo box, and my camera tool linked picture. So I go to the home tab, and then I want to change it to white, and that's fine. Let's test it one more time. Click on the down arrow, select the donut chart, return discount, and then I'm selecting another one and the third one, and so on. Everything is beautiful and dynamic. I started my project by preparing for creating 10 different charts, and I wrote a list of names corresponding to the charts I'll create. I used the list of names in naming 10 ranges of cells, the ranges upon which the charts will be sitting. I created 10 different charts, formatted them, and positioned each chart on its named range. I then created a combo box after adding the Developer tab to the ribbon. Used the same list of names as an input range for the combo box and linked the combo box to a cell in my worksheet. I defined a name, my charts, using a choose function. The first argument of the choose function is the linked cell of the combo box. The remaining 10 arguments of the choose function are the names from the same list of names, separated by commas. I then used the defined name, my charts, as a reference for the camera tool picture. We learned a lot in this video. We named ranges. We created 10 different charts. We dealt with the different formatting options of the different charts. We also created bubble chart, combination chart, pie chart, donut chart, and so on. And then we defined a name. We created a combo box after adding the Developer tab to the ribbon. And we linked the combo box to a cell. Then we added the camera tool to the quick access toolbar. And then we use the defined name inside the camera tool reference so that it brings the functionality of the different charts, and then we tested by switching the charts by using different options from the drop list. If you enjoyed this tutorial, like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you in our next training video.